It's really cold out here. Now, even though they haven't put on their winter coats yet, they've obviously put on their winter fast.
What the fuck did you say to me?
Run!
So let's talk about self-isolation. The movie has its origins, I guess, with the Roger Corman Quarantine Film Festival. So Roger Corman posted that he was going to have this to help promote social distancing and self-isolation, the quarantine and everything. He wanted to everybody to make a short film, and he had several rules. It had to be shot on your phone, had to be in your house or your backyard. Once again, social distancing. And then you can only use the cast of people who's in your house, and then it had to be 2 minutes or less. And then you would put it together and you put it on Twitter and all the other social media things, and just put a hashtag Corman Quarantine. And instantly, I mean, it sounded like a fun idea anyways. Like, regardless, it's just, hey, yes, we got nothing else going on. Unfortunately, Corona has really shut down. We had Chris Cage, modern day Van Helsing, that we're still needing to, finish production on. So it halted that. We had Attack of the Giant Ladybug, which is in pre-production, but we were hoping to get started on that later on. It halted that. And then, of course, the Copperville Chronicles. And so, we had a number of projects that got, completely halted here. So I was just looking to shoot something anyway. So it gave me a great excuse. But then the second thing was like, all right, regardless, this is going to be the first TPS production that like a major horror icon has watched. Like, no matter what, like from here on out, TPS, we're we're an underground Southern Indiana production company. Like, that's all there is to it, and I'm happy where we're at. We have definitely, we've reached pretty far. The movies we have sent out and mailed, it's gone international. So I mean, that's great. It's just, we're a very small company, and that's fine. But it's like, there's no Roger Corman watching anything that we've ever done. So now I could literally die tomorrow knowing that regardless if he liked it or not, Roger Corman has watched at least one film I have directed, even if it was a 2-minute internet short. And that thrilled me to no end. So it's like, yeah, I'll cross that bastard off the bucket list. Got it. So, really happy about that. So I was like, absolutely, and I jumped into it.
Self-isolation is about a guy who apparently just is self-isolating, and he's going slightly mad as the days go on.
As the days turn to week, turns to months, he's slowly starting to unravel and lose his sanity. I guess this is a special feature. I'll go ahead and just kind of reveal the ending, even though it's a 2-minute short. Spoiler alert. The big kind of punchline to this is, the guy, he's slipping away, he's truly going insane, and at the end, he's got the gun in his mouth, he's ready to just, paint the wall red with his brains, and then he gets a phone call from a friend, and of course the friend's just calling to kind of check in on, hey, how you doing, how you holding up during this quarantine, and he's unaware that there's even a quarantine.
And then, it turns out it has nothing to do with current situations.
He's literally, you're just seeing a man with mental illness who is kind of breaking down. And it just so happens to coincide with the coronavirus. So, like, he has no idea. And I guess the real meat of that comes from, not so much anymore. Like, now I have a girlfriend, Angel, she helped me, she actually helped me with the, movie itself. But, like, I remember in my early 20s living alone. And, I mean, I never got this bad. There's no need to, start reaching out now. I'm fine. It's all good. But I do remember that feeling of, and especially like me, I don't read the paper. I wasn't really that in tune in the social media back then. So it was just like, you really were kind of isolated from the world. Like, all I did was go to work and hang out with what little group of friends I had. And that was it. And then come home, and you're just home alone. And don't get me wrong, I loved it. You watch movies, you keep your own hours, you become like your own little vampire. But at the same time, I do remember like when stuff would happen in the town, everybody'd be like, "Hey, did you hear about this?" Or even something in the news, like, "Hey, did you hear about so?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't hear any of that." And everybody's like, "How'd you not hear about it? It's all over the news." Like, well, I don't have cable. Like, I just watch DVDs, and at that time it was Netflix when you would mail them off, and then you get the DVDs in the mail. That was we used to do that, kids, back in the day. So like, to me, and the real. Even though this ain't really a horror, this is definitely more of a drama. It's 2 minutes short. To me, that's kind of the scary part about it is, though, it's like I can see that happening. I have been almost to that level of unawareness in what's going on around you, and just the fact that, like, I know some people who do struggle with mental health, and so just kind of put yourself in their shoes where it's like they're alone anyway, or they feel alone. Like, even when they are surrounded by friends, they still feel alone. And so to kind of put myself in that spot where it's hard, myself in their shoes where it's just like, when you truly feel alone and you're isolated, to kind of show the representation of that. And then on top of that, it's like, oh my God, like, no one's going to check in on this guy for a long time because they assume he's okay because they're like, have you seen Daniel? No, I haven't seen Daniel because he's in self-isolation. We're all in self-isolation. And I think that, to me, was what was scary about it, because it's just like, you just don't know. Like, something bad could happen while you're in quarantine, and people would just assume that, oh, he's just staying off the grid because he's, in quarantine right now, or, he's supposed to be, self-isolated. So that was kind of where the story came from and, where the story went. So it's only 2 minutes, and it's funny because, even though I did this for the Roger Corman, or the Corman Quarantine Film Festival, a secondary film festival popped up. And I don't mean secondary, I'm just saying, another one, an additional one popped up. It was the Silent Quarantine Film Fest, or something like that. Sinister Quarantine Film Fest. And the Sin Film Festival, the Sinister Nights Horror Convention, Slasher App, and Rue Morgue Magazine. I believe those were the 4 major partners that came together. And they have a film festival, once again, it's a Sin Film Festival every year, but they were definitely trying to promote this. So they basically had the same rules, except they gave it a 5-minute runtime instead of the 2. But I was just like, I'm going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, just make the 1 movie, and then, I'll distribute to both. So, which is, that's what I did. But when you're only doing 2 minutes, and I kind of forgot how quickly 2 minutes can go when you're trying to, tell a story, I guess. And because I knew from the beginning it was all going to be just one long montage until that final scene. And that scene, once again, would just be an extended little, dialogue scene, but that'd be it. So I just knew to piece it all together and just show him going insane, slowly. I guess one little piece of trivia I could throw on there is actually, I was trying to, I was worried about continuity, because once again, if it's just me in front of the camera, even if it's 2 minutes, even though you can show the calendar flipping, like, look at all these days and, weeks and months going by, it's like, wow, this guy's appearance has not changed at all. And so I actually shot the movie in reverse. I broke it up into 3 sections. So I just took the entire movie, divided it into thirds on paper, and then decided to shoot the last third first, then the middle, and then the first one. And so this is kind of what I kind of had going on. Maybe it's a little scruffier than this, but just had a little bit of a beard going on. And so I shot the last stuff first with the beard. Yeah. And then when I got to the middle stuff, I went ahead and I just kind of shaved it down. I didn't quite get rid of all the scruff, but I just kind of made it a little tighter. Still had the 5 o'clock shave look, going on. Or 5 o'clock shadow, sorry. Going on. Still, whatever. And then I shot the middle portion. And then by the first portion, I had Angel cut my hair down. Once again, not a lot, but just trim it down a little bit, because once again, only a couple months have passed. But then I went ahead and shaved it down to a goatee. In retrospect, I probably should have shaved it down completely. Because after all that careful planning and, making sure everything was fitting in, continuity or whatever, after I piece it together and go back and rewatch it, you could not even tell. You really can't. Cause a lot of time, I'm shooting my phone, so it's not like a whole lot of detail anyway, so the camera's further away, or the scenes that is kind of close, it's dark. So it's just kind of like, you can't even tell. But I know it, I guess, and I guess it works, As long as I know it, and it's in my performance, then fuck it, it works. It works.
I don't know, he directed himself, and I'm sure that there was a lot of arguments on set. I can only imagine. And I heard that he stormed off one time. But I'm not sure if that's true. I wasn't there that day. And, but no, it was perfectly fine. I think that it was, to me, a 2-minute short that actually has some kind of a decent story is very difficult. But I think, he takes that stuff. It's easier to him. And I think, he did that very, very well, because what can you do in 2 minutes? It's like, but I think he did a hell of a lot in 2 minutes.
The other thing was the fact that it was only 2 minutes. There were certain things I had to kind of trim out of it. In fact, there was a whole deleted scene. I say deleted scene. It was like a 15, 20 second clip or whatever, maybe even less. But one of the scene where I would cross dress, and then I would be putting makeup on while I'm degrading myself in a mirror. And just thought it'd be kind of, because the thing it made me think of is, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie or not, but The Divide came out in like 2010, I think. Has Rosa Arquette, Michael Biehn, someone else, another big name. I'm blanking on who it was. Oh, the guy, I can't pronounce his last name. That Milo something. He was on Heroes. Anyways, it's kind of a weird movie to watch now too, because in that movie there's a terrorist attack on the town. I mean, nuclear bombs have gone off or whatever, and so all these tenants in a apartment building, they end up barricading themselves in this bomb shelter. It's not even a bomb shelter, but it's kind of it's like supposed to be like a fallout shelter in the basement of this place, and they kind of seal themselves off into that. And so when they do that, you start seeing everybody slowly going. I mean, it's definitely more well done than what I was doing here. But the best part is Michael Elklund, I think is his name, and the Milo guy. They start wearing dresses, and they're walking around like in lingerie. They remind me a lot of like Marilyn Manson's early stage of his career, when they were kind of rocking that Kinder whore look, where everybody's just kind of wearing little girl dresses. And that's what it reminded me of. They got the shaved head, and they got these dresses. So I was just trying to replicate that look of it. And so I did the whole thing. I actually took some still shots, and I put them on social media. And I'll put the scene in. Once again, the scene won't be that effective when you don't have the rest of the movie around it, or there's no creepy music playing in the background. It's just a static shot of me calling myself a whore in the mirror with lipstick on and wearing a nightgown. Not gonna lie, it's not a pretty sight at all. But yeah, so it didn't make the cut.
You don't deserve love, you fucking whore.
And then there was kind of a little subtle thing I was trying to throw in there in regards to the masturbation scenes. And so in the movie there are 3 separate masturbation scenes, and they are all 3 different. And so with each masturbation scene, I wanted to show that what he's masturbating to gets more disturbing and messed up as it goes on. So, with like the first masturbation scene, I'm wearing just a regular shirt, whatever, and I have, lotion, so I'm putting it's gonna be a nice, pleasant wank, it's gonna be a nice little jack-off session, but classy, sophisticated, I'm not an animal at this point. So I get the lotion out, and I pump a little my hand, I'm kind of getting ready to go. And so what I did was to replicate the porn, believe it or not, I just went to YouTube and I literally just typed in porn noises, thinking would something come up? And sure enough, there's a shit ton of sound bites that will just pop up. And literally, they have it broken up into categories and shit, so you can pick your kind of porn that you would be listening to. And so for the first scene, I just went normal with it, and so a big fan of the Asian porn, so I was like, yeah. so is this character. So I went ahead, and the first thing you would hear would be the Asian porn. And so that's the first thing. So it's just a normal little, wank scene. But then as the scenes go on, and he's slowly going crazy. I feel like I probably should have reversed them on the next two, because really when I think about it and I say it out loud, the second one definitely seems to be the most disturbing of the three. But for some reason it just felt like it should be number two when I was filming. So the second time you see my character, I'm wearing like a dirty white shirt, because I mean, by the end, like the first part of the movie, there's a lot of costume changes because it's multiple days. But then I feel like in real life, even if I was going insane, and it's like, why would I care about changing clothes? So I would really just wear the robe, the dirty white shirt underneath it, pajama pants. Except when you're jacking off. When you're jacking off, you can get some heat going. So I was like, okay, you would take the robe off, but I'm leaving the dirty shirt on you. And so the second time, no lotion. You're assuming he uses spit or whatever, or he's. I don't need to get into the specifics of jacking off. But anyways, as he's going at it, what I had on the computer in front of me on the screen, it was just a sound of a woman being murdered in the woods. Girl run through woods screaming as she's being stalked and killed. And so I thought that was really fucked up. Like, why is this dude jacking off of that? Like, what the fuck? So, just disturbing. Once again, the TPS production. I like to make TPS Productions very dark and out there. So, this was no exception. So, I was like, you know what? We're doing it. So, that was the second session. The third one really it steers and veers more to comedy, I guess, than disturbing, other than the visual. Because in the visual, there's no shirt, and just my hairy fat ass sitting in front of the camera, and then I spritz myself down with some water to show that this guy is really working it. Like, he's so jaded and at this point that he's just doing some messed up stuff to get his rocks off. And so what I did there's even a scene I cut it out, but there's a scene where I literally just grossly spit right in my hand and just go to town. And once again, it got trimmed for time. But the sound that you would hear, I just put standard, I think it was like classified as gangbang porn. I put that in the thing, but then I laced it with barnyard animals, because I'm just like, of course this guy's watching bestiality at this point. So, and once again, once I start cutting the movie together, and I had to kind of trim up each of these scenes to make everything fit in the time that we're given. And then when I added the music, and I'll talk more about that a little bit later on, you really couldn't hear it as much, and the music starts out subtly, but it gets louder. And so it really was like it became less about what he's jacking off to, and just kind of showing what he's filling his time with, regardless. The only hint of it you can kind of hear is in that third one. If you listen closely, I left in, you can hear a donkey, screeching in the background. So, yeah, there's the donkey left in there. So that's the only trace of disturbing porn this guy's watching that gets left in the movie Self-Isolation. So, I'm very proud of it, and we left it in there, so. Another kind of funny little behind-the-scenes story I can share is the mirror scene. So, I shoot the mirror scene. Even though I don't remember now if I know the scene of me just staring off into it, and then the scene of me, slamming my head into the mirror. That's actually two different shots. And I don't remember now why I separated, because I don't think I shaved between them at all. So, it's weird that I filmed them two separate. I actually filmed some stuff in between that stuff. It wasn't so, you may think it's just one long shot that I cut. No, I literally did use two for one. But, I don't remember why I did that. But anyways, So for the scene, when I kind of, snapped right before I decided to try to kill myself with the gun or, attempt a suicide with the gun, there's a scene where I just slammed my head into the mirror. And the homage there is one of my favorite movies from the early 2000s is the Mothman Prophecies. Like, I am not a fan of Richard Gere at all, but I love that movie. And there's a scene where he has a dream where he's just kind of losing it, and he slams his head into the medicine cabinet and shatters the glass and everything. So we get this mirror. It's a little bitty mirror because we have a big mirror, and that's the mirror that I was using for the cross-dressing scene. And of course we have the medicine cabinet, but we get this little side mirror, a little small mirror you see in the movie. My girlfriend bought it at the Dollar Tree, of all places. And she decorated. She put little sparkly glue around the edges and put little stars and stuff on it. And initially, because we're fans of the TV series Pretty Little Liars, we had a little -A on there. But we wrote it in regular marker, and so when the mirror fogged up, you went to go wipe it, it came off. We eventually put AD in there because anybody who watches Pretty Little Liars knows that A was kind of the first villain, and then AD became the villain of the last season or so. And we put AD in there, and it's kind of faded since too. We actually used permanent markers this time, but it's still kind of faded. But anyway, so that was the mirror. And so I asked her, I was like, listen, do you care if I break this mirror? I'm going to break this mirror. I'll buy you a new one. It was $1. We have no sentimental value attached to the mirrors. It's a bathroom mirror. She's like, yeah, go ahead. So I mean, it's a mirror. Now, I know this sounds stupid when I say it out loud, but I don't care. I was going to go for it. I had like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks deadline to film this movie for both film festivals. So the idea behind it was, okay, I'll film that scene after I get the bulk of this stuff first, with the exception of that very last scene. I'll get the bulk of the third stuff first, and then I'm going to run my head into that mirror, and I'm going to shatter the shit out of it. And I may cut myself doing it, and it's okay. I know it sounds stupid. Everybody's like, that's ridiculous, Daniel. Why would you mutilate yourself for a 2-minute short that only a handful of people are going to watch, with the exception of Roger Corman and his wife? Why would you do that? I'm like, it was going to be cool for the scene. And I'm not a good special effects guy, so guess what? That's what I had. I was just going to say, fuck it. Because I felt like even if I did cut myself up a little bit, it wouldn't be that bad, and I would heal within the next few days, and then I can go ahead and reshoot the next two, the first 2 acts of the movie. So, second scene to this, we get the mirror set back, or get the mirror up, and so I'm sitting there, and I'm just psyching my, and literally, like, Angel's running, because these were handheld portions, and she's running the camera, she's running the film right there, and I'm really psyching myself up. I'm like, this is gonna fucking hurt, and it's gonna, I'm a little nervous doing it, but I don't back out, and so there is a good chunk that I cut out, obviously, of me just, I don't have my face on yet. I'm really just kind of like, oh fuck, here I go, I'm gonna do this. Okay, and then finally I have to get in the character, and then I just go for it. I told her to just keep running, I'll just, do it. And so, I do it, bam! I headbutt that thing with all my might. Eyes are closed, because I didn't want glass to come up and hit me in the eye, so I close my eyes, and I slam it, and I see stars, and it hurt so bad. And all that happened was, I hit the mirror, and the mirror just popped off the wall, it hit the ground, and it didn't shatter. Nothing happened with this mirror. This thing was the toughest thing. Like, it may not even be a real mirror now I'm thinking about it. It could be like some sort of like reflective surface, possibly. I don't know. Didn't break, didn't crack, nothing. I hit it full force and the mirror popped off. If that's not just an advertisement for a very sturdy mirror, like if you're a person that has a lot of mirrors and you go through them for various reasons, go to Dollar Tree for all your non-breakable mirror needs right there. That's not even a plug for them. They don't sponsor us, but you know what? My God, they should, because that mirror was durable. It's still up. It's up in the bathroom right now. So it's it is what it is. Funny little side note, has nothing to do with this movie at all. I remember when we were shooting Unspeakable Acts. I remember before we actually wrapped the movie and everything. Simon, the co-director with me, he was talking to me and asked me, he's like, should we give them a special thanks in the credits? Because, literally, we were getting so much of our props from the Dollar Tree, like cosmetics and, corn syrup, and, we did the steak scene when we ate Ian Chad, as he was called in the movie. We ate, parts of his flesh. It was actually just some steaks we got at the Dollar Tree, and I was just like, we should give him a thank you, but I was like, we'll leave him out. I mean, they wouldn't want to be associated with TPS Productions anyways, but we'll like tag him in a video, and it was like, leave our name out of, your mouth, because we're not getting down to whatever the hell you guys are doing there, so. But anyways, so this kind of reminds me of that. This film, literally, I got it shot, cut, and completed in 7 hours. It was a Saturday afternoon, Saturday afternoon. I had just gone back to work because I was actually laid off for about 3 weeks due to COVID-19, and so was back for the first week, and then that's when I was over the week I read this whole thing, and then by the weekend I was just like, I'm definitely going to do this. So did it, and I had the whole thing. I mean, once again, it wasn't a really hard production. Just really raw, running around and changing clothes, and of course, like the scene with the me opening the refrigerator. The first scene, it had to be me with a certain outfit on, but then the second time I opened it up, I had to not only change my outfit, but I had to take everything out of the refrigerator so that way you can see that it's an empty fridge and everything else. So that was it. But like I said, really fast paced, really quick. Shooting things. So like I said, just like like our TPS production, we just kind of got in there, did it, and got out. So I guess now I need to address, this thing, because I'm sure everybody who's watched it, who wasn't involved in, one way or another, when you see this 2-minute short, and I just mentioned about how I had to cut and trim to, make it fit the time, yet the time itself is only 1 minute and 30 seconds, because there is 30 seconds of credits on this 2-minute short. Now, that's not just me, it's not self-gratification, I'm not trying to stroke my ego, I'm not trying to be self-indulgent, this isn't me being pretentious, because I've seen a lot of short films that are really short, and it's nothing worse than when the credits are longer than the actual film, or when someone feels the need, they have to credit everything. Like with a short film, you can usually just do the basics. You don't have to repeat people's names because it's like, well, give them credit for one thing, it's it, And so, when I did this, and I realized that, the credits would be about 30 seconds, it was just kind of like, I'm not trimming those credits. Like, I just won't. I'm not going to combine them and just make one long. No. Because, and I'll give you the big reason overall, because you're going to think to yourself, well, Daniel, it should have only been 2 people in those credits. You and Angel, you're the only 2 people in that household. Which, normally, yes, you're right. It was just me and her filming this movie. A lot of it was just me on the tripod, actually. But then there was a handful of scenes where I had her actually hold it for me. And so, thank you, sweetie. I appreciate it. And she's, and she's helped us out on other productions as well. She's usually, whenever we need an extra camera person, or just any kind of production assistant in general, she's usually my go-to girl. Love you, baby. So thank you, Angel Lopez, for that. But then, we'll just kind of go through the credits, because there are 4 other names that pop up in this thing. And once again, it's going to seem like I'm just jacking myself off and I made these credits, but that's not the case. So the first name you see, and actually I gave him 2 credits in this one, Simon.
Hey, it's Simon Terrell, TPS Productions, and I'm here to talk to you about Self-Isolation, the short film that Daniel Richardson made. I was an executive producer.
He's my partner in crime here at TPS. He was my co-director on Unspeakable Acts. And even though, he'll even tell you, we always kind of joke that the executive producer credit is kind of a joke credit because, hey, we have no executives here at TPS. It's a very low-rent, underground production company. So, that's a bit ridiculous to have an executive producer credit.
Well, of course, I funded the shit out of it. I think the budget was somewhere around $4 million on this one. I think I had one or two that I put into it. But no, just it's the same question I get on all these things, and it's the same answer. There's so many more hats than just that, but I guess that's just the generic title that I have to go with.
Because in the first snuff film, he was just like my right-hand man. He was my assistant director. He was wrangling everybody on the set. When I couldn't mess with the guy with special effects, it was him that was kind of the go-between. And we got such a late start on that production that, you know, I was just stressing out. And, of course, he was the cool guy who was helping me steer that ship. So, you know, couldn't have done it without the entire crew, but, you know, especially him. And then you look at a movie like, and even on Chris Cage, which we actually already kind of shot a big bulk of that. You know, he had the same kind of, you know, duties there where he was just kind of, you know, pitching suggestions, helping you work the camera, just kind of getting everybody in their places. So, I mean, once again, I mean, the man, he's a jack of all trades. And so anyway, of course, on Entropy, he actually had nothing to do with that movie at all. That was all just me and Josh Chaney. And yet, I got him the executive thing on that one because before I do anything, and self-isolation included, whenever I get something cut, even movies that are just all mine, once again, me and him, we split everything on Unspeakable Acts. That was our film. We each had an equal say in that movie. But with, like, you know, First Snuff Film, that's, you know, that was my first solo project. Entropy was mine and Josh's. And, of course, you know, with the self-isolation, that was just mine. I still won't go any further without kind of getting his okay. Even if he likes it, doesn't like it, whatever, just to kind of hear him go, yeah, absolutely, put my name on there. To me, that is a seal of approval that really only goes to me. Like, no one else will give a shit that, you know, Simon Terrell thought this movie was okay. But for me personally, I need to have that, you know, his clearance in a way of just like, you know, just have him go, yep, that's good enough, put my name on it, add my name to it as a, you know, EP, and that's where the executive producer on this title comes from. Just because, you know what, he's my partner, even if he wasn't here, boom, you know, he's always, you know, we're always gonna be together. Even like, you know, if it's in Jedi spirit form, he's, you know, he's there helping me do this. So, however, then when I started putting it together, I realized I was going to need some music in the background for that scene. And so I hit him up and I said, hey, do you have any, you know, music I could use? And way back when we were cutting together the Unspeakable Acts trailer, he sent me a bunch of, because he has a couple of bands. He was in Open Grave, Get Up and Kill, and then he does a lot of just stuff on his own. And he sent me just a bunch of just random, not just music, but this ambient noise and just kind of random tracks. And he goes, check those out real quick, see if there's anything you like in there. So I went through it, and sure enough, I found the music you hear during the main montage. And so I was like, this is perfect, great. I said, but, you know, hook me up with a song that I can use for my 30-second credits. I'll just use 30 seconds of it. And he's like, no problem. But then I started going through that list that that batch he gave me, and I found this really beautiful just guitar melody. And it was just kind of dark and somber and really felt like it, I mean, for me personally, even though this kind of ends on a goofy high note, and I guess just kind of the goofiness throughout of me masturbating and just kind of doing weird stuff, maybe when people watch this, they get more of a comedic vibe from it. But for me personally, putting it together and just the mood I was feeling as I was making it, it was a very somber occasion. Like, it really was kind of like I was putting myself in this kind of bad mood as I'm watching it, just so I can kind of capture the right vibe. And so when I heard that song, that music, it literally was just like, holy shit, like that's definitely that's the tone, that's the vibe, that's the feeling I wanted for this movie.
There's a couple of tracks I've had for quite a while. I sent Daniel a folder full of ambient tracks and music tracks, guitar, full songs, short songs, whatever, and then he picked these two, and excuse me, I wasn't sure how they were gonna play out, because it was a real short film, and then he did all the editing, and then I see it afterwards and seeing how they actually appeared in the film. I was like, that's awesome, because by themselves they seem a little like I mean, I always, like I tell him, I was like, there's a reason these tracks never got used for other stuff, but I've never, back in the day, I wasn't scoring movies and writing, and it takes on a totally different life when you can hear a track with a video with it. And I'm not talking like a music video, but as part of a movie, and it helped give these otherwise thrown in the trash, forgotten, misfit tracks, somewhere to be. So, but yeah, they were just old songs, and I like to tinker around. I'm always recording something. I mean, you know, 9 times out of 10, it's going to go in that throwaway folder. But now I know not to throw that folder away.
So I felt like, you know, he has to get more than just that first EP credit. Like, I want him to have that music credit because, you know, I really want him to get credit for using, you know, doing this. So, yeah, that's where the music all came from, was from Simon Terrell. So, Simon, thank you, man. Appreciate it. So then moving on, you'll notice that there are a special thanks list in the back of the movie, and there's 3 names on there. And so the first name on there is a good friend of mine, Andrew Beaver. And Andrew actually was a producer on Unspeakable Acts. And dude's been a friend for a very long time, and he's another one of these guys that I truly respect his opinion when it comes to movies. I respect his opinion on anything, but when it comes to movies, I mean, I really do hold his opinion higher than most people. Or do other people's opinions, like, you know. And even though we disagree on quite a bit, we actually do have very vastly different tastes. We have a pretty good common ground, and I really thank him and his brother Thomas for really kind of shaping a certain aspect of my movie taste. Because when I was much younger, my entire taste really revolved around horror, comedy, and action. And the other stuff, but those were really the main things. And I get that more from my uncles, my Uncle Kevin, my Uncle Kirk. You know, these guys, literally, they had 2 very vastly different tastes themselves. They had that common shared ground. But I was raised on their movies, so, like, that's what shaped me. So, and then when I first met Andrew, we were working together at a movie theater. And him and all his friends there, they were all very artsy and was into, like, real dramas. And my initial take on it was like, oh, fuck, like, that's just horrible. Like, I will never watch these movies they're mentioning. Like, it's awful. It's dreadful. But then we became kind of good friends. And then I kind of wanted to impress him and his friends, even though there was really no need to. But I remember, like, making a mental list of what they were talking about, and I'd go out and watch them. And it wouldn't always be a home run, but within that list, I remember that's how I came across Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which would be, to this day, my favorite all-time movie ever. It just, that's, to me, is the perfect movie. And he has introduced me to, like to me, when you would ask me at that time, you know, hey, you like Stanley Kubrick? I'm like, absolutely. The Shining, Clockwork Orange, that's probably it. Like, I didn't really watch Kubrick movies, but I love those 2 movies. And then he got me into, like, Barry Lyndon. And it was just like, holy shit, there's a whole other, you know. And he introduced me to The Trial, which is Orson Welles, which was just a huge movie that, once again, to this day, I fucking love that movie. Like, it's one of my truly favorite movies. Like, a year or so later, I'd meet his little brother, Thomas. And, dude, at that time, was kind of a carbon copy of him. Like, they've grown differently since. But at the time, they were very similar, but he was also very much in that same vein, so then he would get me to watch a lot of movies that I normally wouldn't watch. I don't remember which one of them got me to watch Magnolia, which got critically panned at the time, but I absolutely loved it, and actually just recently rewatched it. I bought it and rewatched it, and it still holds up. And so I always kind of, you know, when it comes to movies, I hold, you know, both Beaver brothers just, you know, very, you know, close, and hold their opinions very, you know, close to the heart. So, anyways, when it comes to actually making movies, like I said, when I made Unspeakable Acts, he produced it, or he was one of the producers on it, and, you know, he attended the premiere, which, you know, meant the world to me. Like, he came from out of state to come to the premiere, and so it really did just, you know, it meant the world to me. And, you know, way back in the day, he did a lot of short films. In fact, he did a trilogy of student films, which I was in the 3rd one, called The Shadow, where I played the villain, The Shadow. I played the killer in his only horror film he ever did, which I was, you know, honored to do that. Still have a copy of that, and from time to time I'll bust it out and be like, all right, let's just watch the very first movie I was in. But he did a short shortly after that. It was a comedic short called Man versus Civilization, featuring Wolf Range, and he did it with a friend of his, and Tony Spitz, I believe. And anyway, I remember, like, you know, he wasn't like, maybe he did, but he wasn't really like pushing this like he did, you know, the previous 3 on me. So I just kind of went on my way and watched it on my own, and like, I loved it. Like, I thought it was hilarious. Like, it was just a really funny short. You know, if you guys seen the old Man vs. Wild, I don't know if that's even still a show now, But it's kind of a reverse of that, where a guy's just trying to make it in the wilds of Bloomington, Indiana, and just kind of wacky. So, anyways, whenever I'm shooting this movie, or Self-Isolation, I was wanting to have 3 separate scenes of me watching TV, and I'd have 3 different moods. Like, each one would represent a different change in my personality. And I'll go backwards this time. So in the last one, it's I'm watching Carnival of Souls because it's in the public domain. You got to do public domain when you do this stuff. And but I love Carnival of Souls. That is actually one of my all-time favorite horror films. My second favorite third favorite from. You know what? No, yeah, I don't know. I flip-flop on it in Psycho. I know that's a controversial statement, but I don't care. I really love Carnival of Souls. It's a really dark, eerie horror film. I would say it's probably third in. I'll go Night of Living Dead first, Psycho second, and then I'll go Carnival of Souls third. But it's one of my favorite black and white films from the '60s, or just in general, really. But it's a really eerie. Like, I recommend that movie on a stormy Saturday night, and you just turn the lights out and put in Carnival of Souls. I mean, it's just creepy as hell, and it's still effective. And anyway, there's a scene in there where the main girl is talking to her psychiatrist, and he's talking about how she may, in fact, all these things she's experiencing may just be in her head. She's going crazy, and just a really poignant piece of dialogue that I want to put in here. So the scene, I took that clip out and I play it, on the TV. And so, anyways, that's what my character's watching. But at this point, he's already gone insane. And when he's sitting there watching it, I'm wearing a mask that's kind of made up or whatever. And that's really just an inside joke that only people who are like, my inner circle, close friends will get, because way back in the day, I used to do a YouTube channel or show called the Movie Phantom or the Movie Phantom's Horror Review, where I was the Movie Phantom, and I wore a mask, and I just basically what I do now with the horror movie review with Daniel Richardson. It was that, but with a mask. And so, if you ever want to check that out, or if there's any movies that you're like, man, I wish more what Daniel thinks about that movie, you can probably find it in the archives. It's its own channel, its own separate entity. It has since been, deleted, or not deleted, but defunct. I haven't used it at all, but it's still there. It's still floating around out there in YouTube world. But anyway, that was the first. I made 5 masks total in the entire run I did the show, and that was the first mask. So I just put it on just to kind of. But the funny thing is, if you look closely, you'll see the string is really. And what it was is in my office, I have all 5 masks hung up on the wall. Well, the string itself, like, lost its elasticity. That seems like a weird word. I think I butchered it. But anyways, it's no longer elastic. But it kind of just stuck in that form for where it's on the wall. So when I put it on, it wasn't sticking at all. So I had to kind of tilt my head back a little bit to keep it on my face. And then, kind of try to push it down. But then I noticed when I shot it, it was already out. And I was just like, well, you know what? It looks even crazier. It'll work. So that was the third scene. The second scene, I thought it was very interesting. I don't know if you guys knew the story behind it or not, but like the Beverly Hillbillies, which I was never really a huge fan on. When I was younger, we lived out in the country, and we didn't have cable. We had an antenna, and so on one of the local stations, they would play reruns. And I always had on Channel 4 here, which would later turn into WB and then later to CW. But way back when it was just WTTV4, they played a bunch of older stuff, and they had late nights. They would have Beverly Hillbilly reruns. So I mean, I watched it, and like I said, there was some humor stuff, but just overall, I don't consider that like a show that's like critical or canon to my personal taste. I can do without it, and I don't own any Beverly Hillbillies DVDs. I find it really odd that like the first half, because it's a CBS show, but the first half of this first season, somehow like the rights ran out, and CBS just never followed up on it, so it fell into the public domain. And then they quickly picked him up. Now, they would go ahead and re-release the whole thing together, but it's like, you can find the early episode of Beverly Hillbillies in random DVD packs anywhere. And so, I thought it was kind of odd, so I was just like, fuck it. I want to watch something that would be funny that I just wouldn't be laughing at. So, the second scene, now it's me kind of miserable, and I'm just kind of doing this number, and serious on my face, and I just found some random joke that Jethro says, and that's the dialogue you hear in that second bit. And so it's just a way for something that maybe some people will find funny, and maybe my character would have found funny at one point, but at this point, at this stage in Self-Isolation, not having any of it. But that very first scene was a quick clip from Man vs. Civilization. featuring Wolf Range. And so I just text Andrew up the night that before I was going to start shooting and asked him, like, hey, you care if I use that clip? And I'm sure like he got forgot who's probably been out there, but he was just like, yeah, absolutely, go ahead. And I was like, thank you. And I was like, so there you go. Special thanks. You get the special thanks in the credits for that. And so, B, if you're out there listening, thank you very much for that. Wasn't, probably doesn't mean much to you, but it meant the world to me, so thank you. So it's just my way of kind of, a tip of the hat to a good friend and, a former director himself, so that was that right there. The next two names on that special features list is Josh Chaney, or special features list, sorry, special thanks list is Josh Chaney and Kayla Ramsey. Now, I already mentioned Josh. He's a good friend of mine and a frequent collaborator. In fact, aside from Simon, he's the only man, because we released 4 movies total, Unspeakable Acts and 3 shorts, but he's the only person to actually have, aside from me and Simon, his name in each of the credits. He's helped out. He was the star. He did lots of odds and ends with us behind the scenes on Unspeakable Acts. And then with Entropy, me and him co-directed it, and we did everything. Like he did the sound and whatever on it as well. And then on First Snuff Film, he did the score for my movie. And then we actually, together with his friend Matt, we formed the TPS House Band, because they're already in a band called Thin Lines together. And we formed the TPS House Band and actually did the soundtrack song for the closing credits on that. Once again, another, freaking self-indulgent credit sequence on a short film, but hey, I'm that self-indulgent director, so it's okay. Anyways, but so he's helped me on those two. And so initially, I was going to have him be the voice on the other side of the phone, the guy calls me. So I, hit him up Friday night and said, hey, would you care to, just record a couple of lines of dialogue from your house? Once again, we're promoting, self-isolation here. Would you, mind doing that? And then just send me the files and I'll put them in a post. He's like, yeah, absolutely, no problem. So like, thank you. Well, so the day comes, and so I'm shooting the suicide scene. And the big problem comes up. I realize that we only have 2 phones in the house. My phone and my girlfriend's phone's Angel. And, or my girlfriend, yeah, phone's Angel. And, or my girlfriend Angel's phone, I feel like I came out weird and cluttered. Sorry. We do these things live and in one take, so, so anyways, I realized pretty quickly that I couldn't, I'm going to have to be filming myself on the phone, because A, I can't use her phone, because her phone has got a fucking glittery little pop socket on it that looks like a little glitter tumor, and it looks stupid, and you can't just pull that off, because once you kind of unstick it once, it just never sticks the same way again, so I couldn't ask her to take the pop socket off. Which means I was going to have to film on her phone, and have me use my phone. Which is why, if you look closely, the look of the film drastically changes on that last scene. Not just because we do a Dutch tilt angle, but because it just looks grainier for some reason. I don't know what the hell's going on for a thing. But regardless. But then it hit me like, oh shit, I need someone to call me. Because I've seen so many low-budget horror movies when the guy gets on the phone and there's just nothing there. Or you can see the menu and his friend. It's just clearly, dude, you're not taking a phone call. Because either you will see the phone thing that indicates you're taking a phone, or sometimes the phone does go black, but you will see it first when you answer it. And a lot of times I see in movies where a guy will just pick up he'll just pick up the phone, like this right here. Nothing on it. Clearly doesn't ring, oh. Yeah, it looks ridiculous. I want to see him actually accept the call and then, put it on there, and they never do that. So anyways, I was like, well shit, someone has to call me. So I didn't want to ask Josh again, because I was like, well shit, I'm already having to do the voiceover, and I just don't want to keep bugging because he may be doing that right now. So I was like, shit, he takes somebody, so I think of my cousin Kayla. Kayla actually helped us on Unspeakable Acts. She was an actress in one scene there. And so I was like, I'll hit her up. And unfortunately, she was on her lunch break, and I hate that I had to bug her during work. She's like, no problem. What's going on? And I was like, well, would you care just to call me real quick? All you gotta do is call. I explained the whole situation. I was like, just call me real quick. I said, I'll take care of the rest. You can even hang up during that call. I don't give a shit. At that point, the phone will be right here, and it's no big deal. She's like, yeah, no problem. So I get the camera set up. I told her, call me in 1 minute. Everything's set up, and I hit record on the phone. And so do the scene. I'm screaming. That's another scene that gets cut down kind of short. That's really kind of long to me with the gun in my mouth because I mean it's a whole minute before she calls me. So it's just me screaming and doing everything else to the phone or to the gun, and then the phone rings. Boom, I do it. So after I'm done with the scene. Thank you very much. Love you. Catch you later. Hang up. I go to my laptop and I hook the phone up to it, and it turns out nope. I just took a snapshot of me on the phone because on my phone, whenever you go to record, you go to camera and there's just two buttons on there. It's a button to hit to take a snapshot, and a button you just have to hit once to record video. That's it. There's nothing else. On my girlfriend's phone, there's a toggle switch. So when you click it over, you have to hit it again to record. That's bullshit. I didn't know that, so I'm like, oh shit. And she was on her lunch break, so I tried to get a hold of her, and I didn't know when her lunch ended or whatever, and she wasn't responding. I was like, oh fuck. So I was like, alright, no big deal. So I get a hold of Josh. I was like, well, Josh, I'm sorry to bother you again. You care to do it? He's like, yeah, no problem, So I get everything set up. We do the scene again, and I get it. I, get her recording right off the bat, and then I do it. So at this point, I didn't have her recording it. She was away. It was a tripod shot. So anyways, Josh calls. I get the scene, and I nail it. Boom, perfect, no problem. Thank you, Josh, and I, hang up. And so as I'm starting to put everything away, I get the message back from Kayla, and she's like, hey, I'm so sorry I missed your call. Do you still need me to call you? And I felt really guilty to be like, oh no, in fact, I messed up, and then I went ahead and got someone else to do it for me anyways. So I'm like, I already bothered her. I already, bugged her, on her lunch break. And I was just like, sure. And I thought, let's get a secondary angle. So I just went ahead and set the camera up again, and it was a close-up of my face this time instead of the away shot I did. And so, did the scene again, got it. And so when in the editing room, you see it, in the final cut, the first cut is, the first angle is like, side angle or, sideways angle, tilt of me freaking out the gun, answer the phone, and then my final lines of dialogue, it cuts to my face, and then we do that. And so it was Josh Chaney and Kayla on the phone each time.
Quarantine? What quarantine? What the fuck's the coronavirus?
So once again, I'm just like, thank you both, for that. And so, yes, there are maybe more names on this credits, and they're given equal timing on the, back. But there's a reason for that. Because, to me, that symbolizes a lot more than just a self-indulgent director trying to bloat his short film. That, to me, is showing that even when we are all stuck on quarantine, and we're all in self-isolation, that you're never truly alone. This was a film that I was supposed to, I can only use people in my household or whatever, and you're not supposed to break quarantine, and we never did. And yet, I was able to get 5 other people, including my girlfriend, Simon, and Andrew, and Josh, and Kayla, in, different cities. Everybody's in a different town. In Andrew's case, he's in a different state, to pull together and help me out. So once again, even, if you feel like you're alone, or you gotta do something on your own, you're never truly alone. Because if you got, great friends, great family, it's like, you're not alone. And once again, the character in this movie, he has friends like that. And so I just feel like, what, that's kind of the overall moral and message and lesson that I'm taking from this movie right there. Is, a lot of people's gonna see those credits and be like, oh wow, look, a quarter of this movie is nothing but credits. And I'll take that criticism. Because once again, to me, that's what that represents. Is that's how great my life is. Just call people up randomly. Can I get a quick favor from you? And they come through. And I would do the same for them. I mean, at the drop of a hat, any of those guys need any help, I'd be there. And so, I don't know. Once again, call it self-indulgence if you will, but I just call it great friends help me out, make a movie. And Roger Corman's going to see a movie with their names all over it. So it's like, look at that. Look at that.
Daniel will do surprise things, like how I just said earlier that I'm always recording, I'm always doing something with music. Daniel is always writing or thinking up. He's always doing something with film. And if he sits around the house long enough, as you see, something, he can't just sit there and not do anything.
So that was self-isolation right there. Once again, we did an entire featurette that was like, I don't even know what the runtime on this is. I don't know where we're at time-wise, but this is way longer than the actual short. But you know, whatever. This is about as in-depth, and you know, this is about all you can get. I mean, there's no more information you can have for you TPS completists who like to have all your special features. There's nothing else you can have now. This is it.
And it's a fun little short. It's really cool, really awesome.
So that was Self-Isolation. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Once again, just kind of a short little film that I threw together. But you know what? I had a great time doing it, and yeah, hope you guys enjoyed watching it. So guys, thank you for watching us, and stay tuned, because hopefully once all this thing blows over, we'll be able to go back and film again. We'll be able to bring you more twisted entertainment. So that's all I got, guys. Thank you.
Hopefully you can cut that up into something that makes sense.
No, it's great.